Greetings from our Temecula studios. This is the Ryder Report. Another big day in sports. NFL heating up. Keeping tabs on Thursday night football. It was an embarrassing start for the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson, great to see him back on the field. We'll have a report from that game. NBA chaos never ends. And yes, the women's college basketball season is finally here. Finally. And we've got the Breeders' Cup coming at you from Del Mar. 2 days of racing, 2 days of pure drama. So glad you're with us. I'm Ryder Bullock. This is the Ryder Report. And we start with what is turning into a real problem for the NBA. This whole gambling scandal. That's what it is. It's a scandal. It's not some isolated story anymore. We're not talking about one guy, one game, or a few bad bets. What's happening now is the league, its partners, FanDuel, DraftKings, all these sports books, are trying to scramble to figure out what they've unleashed. And let's be honest, the NBA opened this door. Okay, and they didn't really just open it, they kicked it down. They've been in bed with these sports books for years, cutting deals, doing sponsorships, pushing betting on every broadcast. You watch a game now, you get more graphics about players' props than you do about scores. And now suddenly they're realizing, oh, maybe prop bets can be manipulated. You think? So, according to ESPN, before this season, the NBA told its partners don't offer bets on missed free throws, fouls, or turnovers because those are too easy to manipulate. FanDuel, DraftKings, they agreed. But let me tell you, the fact that this even has to be said tells you where we're at. The league knows there are weak points, and they're scrambling to patch them up after guys like Jonte Porter and now Terry Rozier get caught up in these federal investigations. Rozier's saying, you know, they tipped off a childhood friend. That's the rumor, that he's going to go pull himself early from a game. That friend allegedly sold that info for $100,000. Suddenly everybody's betting on Rozier's stats, and guess what? He leaves the game after 9 minutes with a foot injury. Now, that's a bad look, okay? That's not a coincidence either. That's insider information being weaponized in real time. You know, I've said this for a while now. When you start to make the players, the coaches, the referees part of the betting market, you're asking for trouble. We're not talking about someone trying to throw a game for the mob anymore. We're talking about hundreds of prop bets per night. All of these little micro events, rebounds, assists, turnovers, you name it, and every single one of them can be influenced with one bad possession, a missed free throw here, a tight hamstring there, and somebody's making thousands. The NBA says they're working with sports books to limit exposure, but you can't limit human behavior. You can't legislate temptation. And now they're realizing, hey, maybe we shouldn't let people bet under the one or two-way players again, right? This is after the Jonte Porter scandal where the guy literally admitted he manipulated his own performance so his bettors could cash in. It's unreal. You know, years ago, if a player even walked into a casino, it was news. You know, I mean, all the rumors about Michael Jordan and this and that. Now they've got betting lounges in the arena. There are QR codes on the scoreboard telling you to place the same game parlay before tip-off. This is what happens when the leagues chase the money and forget the integrity of the sport. Now, look, the sports books, they tell you, hey, we're doing our job. We caught suspicious activity. We pulled the bets, and yeah, that's fine, but that's not a win for the system. That's a red flag that the system is broken. You're not supposed to be constantly putting out fires in the forest if it wasn't dry to begin with. And let's not forget the whole push for prop betting for parlays. That's not for the sharp bettor. That's not for the diehards. That's for casual fans. It's designed to keep them glued to every possession, to every rebound, to every shot. It's an engagement-driven gambling system. And if you think that's healthy for the sport long term, you're not paying attention. Now, the Sports Betting Alliance, that's the lobbying group for all these companies, they're warning the league, don't ban too much or you'll push bettors to illegal sites. Well, that's a nice little bit of leverage, isn't it? If you don't let us offer these bets, people will go offshore. So the NBA stuck between integrity and revenue, and let's be honest, they've made that choice before, but this time the damage is visible. You've got multiple players under investigation, federal indictments, and fans asking a fair question. When I watch a game now, am I watching competition or am I watching the stock market? And I'll tell you what, I'd do if I were the NBA, you shut down all player prop bets, period. You want to bet on a team? Fine. You want to bet on an over-under? Go ahead. But these prop bets, these one-man wagers, they're tailor-made for corruption. You can't police all of it. There's too many players, too many teams, and the temptation is too high. This isn't just about the players. It's about public perception. And once fans stop trusting what they're watching, this whole thing collapses. And the NBA, with its cozy sportsbook partnerships and in-game odds, is walking a very fine line. You know, I seen a tweet the other day. Who would have thought that the World Wrestling Entertainment was the realest sport? And maybe there's a point to that, but we won't go down that line. But we will shift gears to what might be the wildest, fastest moving coaching carousel we've ever seen in college football. Not the biggest, not the most chaotic, but the fastest. I mean, things are moving at warp speed. You blink, and another Power 5 coach is either fired, extended, or already being linked somewhere else. LSU, Penn State, Florida, all with openings or heavy smoke around them. And it's not even November. It used to wait till bowl season before any of this started. Now they're firing coaches before Halloween candy even got stale. So let's start with Penn State. That was the shocker just a couple of weeks ago. James Franklin out after 11-plus seasons, a guy who got them to the playoffs last year, and less than 3 weeks later, Curt Cignetti at Indiana gets an 8-year, $93 million extension. $83 million to stay at Indiana. That tells you how the market's gone completely off the rails. We're not even talking about Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State anymore. Indiana's throwing around 9-figure deals to make sure Penn State doesn't come knocking. By the way, Penn State's search, barely 18 days old, already it's twisting itself into knots. Matt Rule, who a lot of people thought was the frontrunner, he's off the board, extended at Nebraska. So now you're down to Mike Elko at Texas A&M, Clark Lay at Vanderbilt, maybe a few other names, but the longer this goes, the weirder it gets. Now, Elko's fascinating. Jersey guy, Penn grad, spent years coaching in the Northeast and Midwest. Fits Penn State's culture perfectly, disciplined, academic, defensive-minded, not flashy. But here's the thing, he's 8-0 at A&M right now. If he makes the playoff, he's not leaving in December. And that's what's creating this whole domino effect. Schools don't want to wait. They want their new coach in place before the portal opens, before recruits start flipping. So we've got programs acting like they're on a stopwatch. Patience used to be part of the process, not anymore. It's all about speed. Now down in the SEC, it's even crazier. Lane Kiffin, basically the belle of the ball again. Florida's talking to him, LSU's circling, and Ole Miss is fighting to keep him. I mean, the guy's got 3 major programs all trying to line up a date. It's absurd. And knowing Kiffin, he's loving every minute of it. But here's the reality. If he stays at Ole Miss, that's a big win for them. But it leaves 2 of the biggest jobs in the country open. Florida, who do they got? Where do they go? Drinkwitz at Missouri, Brom at Louisville, Reed Lashley at SMU, all good coaches, but let's be honest, none of them moved the needle in Gainesville the way Kiffin would. And LSU, that's the big fish, right? They fired Brian Kelly, a guy who's won everywhere he's been, and now you've got a power vacuum down there. And this is where it gets political because it's not just a football decision anymore. It's a Louisiana decision. You got the governor, Jeff Landy, going on local television, basically saying the athletic director, Scott Woodward, is not picking the next coach. He told a reporter, quote, "Hell, I'd let Donald Trump pick him before I'd let Woodward do it," end quote. You can't make that up. That's a direct quote from the governor of Louisiana. So my question is, who's running Louisiana State University right now? Is it the Board of Supervisors or is it the governor's office? You've got politicians, donors, boosters. Everybody wants their fingerprints on this hire because they've all got the money. And this is the kind of stuff that turns a great job into a minefield. And that's the difference. LSU's a monster job. You can win big there. Every coach since Saban has won a national title. But it's also one of the most complicated jobs in America because the politics never stop. Let's go back to James Franklin for a moment because his name's coming up everywhere. Now, remember, Penn State bought him out, right? But he's got to go get a job. Penn State said, we're not going to pay you to just sit around. We need you to go coach somewhere else. So this guy's he might be a possibility to go to Florida or go to LSU or whatever. His name is popping up everywhere. Okay, this guy's record 128-60, 9 top 25 finishes, playoff appearances, and he's on the market already. Okay, telling ESPN he's going to coach again by 2026. That's a huge wild card, but you've got a proven modern recruiter sitting out there. Florida State, Virginia Tech, maybe UCLA, all could be fits. He's the X factor. If one of these big schools misses on their first target, Franklin could land on his feet real quick. And it's not just the top tier jobs anymore. You got Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Stanford, UCLA, all open or close to it. Arkansas, for crying out loud, is considering Bobby Paterno again. This guy who crashed a motorcycle with his mistress the last time he was there. Remember that? That's how desperate these programs are. You know, they'll take the PR hit if it means a few more wins. Stanford's been open since spring. UCLA's floating without a direction, and even Baylor's Dave Arnada might be in play for multiple jobs. It's a feeding frenzy. Now, let me give you the other piece here, the group of 5 coaches. These are the guys who's going to benefit big time from the chaos. You know, I'm talking about John Summerall at Tulane, hot name, great resume. Silverfield at Memphis, Alex Golesh at USF, Bob Chesney at James Madison. These guys are lining up for the next wave of Power 4 jobs. You get 10, 20 openings like that. I thought that was a typo, but there might be 20 openings like this. Somebody's getting promoted. And Summerall, I'll tell you right now, he's probably the best of the bunch. Wins everywhere, has SEC roots, knows how to build a program. He's the one that might end up in a place like Auburn or Virginia Tech when the smoke clears. And then you get to an even crazier job, and that's coordinators. That's another story. It's a thinner pool this year. You've got Colin Klein at A&M, former Heisman finalist, doing great things offensively. Oregon's Will Stein, Ohio State's Brian Hartland, all young, rising offensive minds. But again, schools are looking for splash hires. Nobody's trying to explain a coordinator hired to a booster base after firing a $90 million head coach. So even if these guys are ready, they might have to wait another cycle. So what's clear is this: the money, the timing, the politics, it's all accelerating. You used to have a month between the end of the regular season and signing day to figure it out. Now, the minute a coach loses 2 in a row, somebody's agent is leaking names. It's a contest in motion. It's college football turned into Wall Street. Everybody's buying, selling, hedging. And I'll tell you something, when you move this fast, you make mistakes. Somebody's going to overpay, somebody's going to panic, and somebody's going to regret it by next October. That is college football. We shift gears to college basketball. And Monday, the 2025-2026 women's college basketball season tips off. And I tell you what, this sport has exploded. The ratings, the talent, the interest, it's all real now. It's no longer a niche product. This is mainstream basketball. Last year, UConn returned to glory. Paige Beckers led them to a national title. But now she's gone off to the WNBA. And USC's Juju Watkins, who looked like the heir apparent, is out for the season after that knee injury in March. So here we go again. New season, new stars, a very open race on the road to Phoenix. Let's start with the champs, UConn. They're still the team to beat, always will be as long as Gino's the coach. But this year feels different. You don't have Beckers to lean on. You've got Sarah Strong. You've got Ozzie Fudd, both legit stars, but there's no transcendent player right now. That doesn't mean UConn's coming back to the pack. Okay? But it does mean they can be beaten. And if you're looking for them to, if you're looking for them to win, I think they're going to win. They're going to make it to the Final Four, but I think they're going to get knocked off. Now, you say, Ryder, who can knock them off? I'm telling you right now, a team that can knock off UConn is Notre Dame. Charlie Cream said it best. He likes the Irish, and so do I. Ivy, right? The coach, 6 years in, finally with her own roster. She's done everything right except win in March. That's the only thing left. Under Muffet McGraw, remember, Notre Dame went to 2 straight national title games. Won 1. Since then, haven't been past the Sweet 16. Last year was supposed to be the breakthrough. It ended in a disappointment. 4 starters gone, 6 transfers in. It's a massive overhaul. But here's the thing. Ivy's got a real point guard again, and she's got depth. That's what killed her last year. If that group gels early, I think Notre Dame can absolutely win this thing. They're tough, they rebound, they defend. They're not flashy, but they play the right way. Now, conference-wise, you say, Ryder, what conference are you really wanting to watch this year? And I'm watching the Big East. I mean, UConn, yeah, they're still the giant, but Creighton and Seton Hall, those are 2 teams that can make noise. Creighton returns nearly everyone. Seton Hall's got the transfer-heavy roster that can shoot the lights out. Marquette, Villanova, they're good, but not great. The bottom half, Xavier, Georgetown, they're rebuilding. No surprise there. But it's the top half that I love. UConn, Creighton, Seton Hall. That'll make the Big East a grind this year. And I'll tell you what, that's a great thing for the sport. The Big East being relevant in women's basketball again matters. Okay, let's shift out west. Stanford, one of the proudest programs in the country, missed the tournament last year for the first time since 1987. That's 37 years. Kate Pay's second year. She's got a phenomenal freshman class. Haley Swain, Laris Sumfay, both top 15 recruits, real talent, and that's a program that'll bounce back. They'll be back in the tournament, maybe Sweet 16, good. Not a title team yet, but building something. Stanford doesn't stay down long, okay? That's the key there. Now, USC, I don't see it, okay? Even if they do make the tournament, I think they're the first top 25 team to go out. I don't know why they're ranked. Juju Watkins is out. That's a massive, massive loss. She's the engine, the face, the everything. Without her and without Kiki, Irefin, and Marshall gone to the WNBA, you've got a ton of uncertainty. Yeah, the Trojans have talent, sure, but no leadership, no continuity, and in March, that's what wins. So I think USC is going to struggle, plain and simple. Who's my Cinderella team to look out for? Princeton. You want an interesting mid-major? Look no further. All 5 starters are back from the tournament. Carla Burby's got a Madison State Rose turning, and she's the key. Missed almost all of last year with a knee injury. She's healthy now, though. She's probably the best player in the Ivy League. Princeton's got Georgia Tech, Villanova, and Maryland on the road early. Those are serious tests. If they win even one of those, you'll start hearing about them again in March. That's a Sweet 16 sleeper right there. So what shapes this season, number 1, is the lack of clear superstar. For the first time in about 5 years, there's no one name carrying the sport. No Clark, no Reese, no Juju, no Page this year. It's going to be about teams. Who can defend, who can share the ball, and who can make big plays late. And that's good for the game. It's going to feel wide open. Number 2, the freshman class is loaded. Sarah Strong, Jada Williams, Joyce Edwards, all future pros. And number 3, the coaching changes. You've got legends retiring, assistants getting promoted, and a lot of turnover. That's going to create a party, especially early in the year. So, Final Four prediction, write it down now. UConn gets back to the Final Four. Notre Dame joins them. South Carolina, Dawn Staley's too good to miss out. She's in. And my wild card, Texas. Vic Schaefer's got a real team this year. Deep, experienced, physical. I think they sneak into Phoenix. And if you're asking me right now, October 30th, 2025, who wins it all? Give me Notre Dame. I think Ivy's year. I think it's Ivy's year. She's earned it. She's built the right way. And I think the Irish finally get back on top. So that is college basketball. For the women's side, we'll do the men's side tomorrow. And on Tuesday, we'll have a report from college basketball on the hardwood report for the first ever Dickey V Classic between number 10 Duke and Texas. To horse racing. And we are now less than 24 hours from day one of the Breeders' Cup. Actually, my timer says 15 hours, 26 minutes, and 48 seconds to post time of day one of the Breeders' Cup World Championship. Del Mar again, second straight year. It's at Del Mar, third straight out west. And listen, if you've never been to Del Mar, you got to see it once. The sun, the surf, the sound of the horses coming down the stretch. It's what racing is supposed to be. This weekend is the Olympics of thoroughbred racing, and it kicks off Friday, Future Stars Friday. 5 races, all for the juveniles, all 2-year-olds, the next generation. And you want to know where the Kentucky Derby horse of 2026 might be? He's running somewhere on the ticket Friday. Now, a lot of people treat Friday as a warm-up for Saturday, but I actually love this card. You got the raw, unpredictable stuff, the kids, the young horses, the new trainers trying to make their mark. The first Breeders' Cup race goes off at 5:45 Eastern. So, yeah, you can literally have a race going on while you're handing out candy on Halloween night. Not bad, huh? Trick or treat and a turf sprint at the same time. You've got the juvenile turf sprint, the Phillies turf, the juvenile and the juvenile turf, 5 in a row, ending at around 8:30 Eastern. So if you're at a Halloween party, keep the phone nearby. Those horses will be flying down the stretch at Del Mar while you're eating your candy corn. Now here's the thing. This year's classic, okay, that's Saturday, is missing a big name. Sovereignty, right? The horse that dominated headlines all summer is out, had a flu, spiked fever, and he is scratched. So that's a blow, right? Anytime you lose your headliner, it stings. But the Breeders' Cup is bigger than one horse. There's still power across both days. Older horses, sprinters, turf specialists, all at the top of their division. And Del Mar's the perfect place to host this event. It tight turns, fast track, and the ocean breeze. It levels the playing field. The Europeans come in strong on turf. The Americans dominate dirt. You get that international flavor that makes this event so special. Now, I'm not giving picks, saving that for another time, but let's talk storylines. Tomorrow, Friday, all about the kids. You got these European invaders from Aidan O'Brien. He's loaded again, and he's bringing another wave of turf stars. True Love, Brussels, Mission Central. Every year he's a threat to sweep those grass races. On the home front, you've got Wesley Ward, who's made a career of winning these short turf sprints with lightning quick 2-year-olds. The guy knows how to get them out of the gate and turn the lane before you blink. That first race, the turf sprint, it's always chaos. Blink and you missed it. And then you've got the juvenile fillies. That's the big dirt race for the girls. Couple of familiar names in there. Percy's Bar, Tommy Joe, Bottle of Bruges, Iron, Orchard. Bafford's got 2 of them, of course. It wouldn't be the Breeders' Cup without Bob Bafford having a pair of bullets in the holster. But what makes this one interesting is how deep the talent runs. You've got horses who've won major preps coast to coast at Saratoga, Keeneland, Santa Anita. It's a true national championship feel, which is exactly what this event was designed to be when they started it 40 years ago. And the juvenile fillies turf, well, that's where the Europeans usually eat their lunch. They send these fillies who've already won multiple Group 1s overseas, and they just come flying late on the outside. This year, Precise is the one everybody's talking about. Undefeated, classy, but drew the outside post. And that's a tough trip at Del Mar. Still, when O'Brien ships one over, you pay attention. The guy's a machine. Now, the juvenile itself, that's the marquee race of the day tomorrow. Used to be the biggest event for 2-year-olds in the country, and honestly, I think it still is. Some people would probably debate that, and I don't have time for that. But you've got Ted Naffy, Brian Interpreto. Small field this year, only 7 horses, which is unusual. Normally you get about 10 or 11, but it's a quality bunch. The juvenile is often where stars are made. You think back to Nyquist, Essential Quality, Street Sense. That's where they started. So whoever wins this thing Friday night, circle their name, because that's your early Derby favorite heading into the winter. Then you wrap it up with the Juvenile Turf, another loaded race. And again, here come the Europeans. Aidan O'Brien, that's the name again. Brings in Gustad, the morning line favorite. Problem is, Drew post 14 on a turf. Okay? And a Del Mar, that's almost like starting from the parking lot. You'll see Christoph Solomon, if he can work some magic there. On the American side, Riley Mott's Argos look like the one. He's my horse to watch, I think. Argos, right? He looks like he could be consistent. And that barn's starting to build a name. So yeah, Future Stars Friday. That's your appetizer. Championship Saturday. That's your steak dinner. 9 Breeders' Cup races topped by $7 million classic. But here's what I love about this sport and why I still cover it after all these years. The Breeders' Cup isn't just about the big money or the betting windows. It's about the stories, the horses, the trainers, the people who've spent a lifetime chasing one great moment down that stretch. You won a Breeders' Cup race, your name's in the history books forever. Doesn't matter if you're a Baffert or a small-time trainer from Kentucky who's got one good colt and made it count. That's what makes this weekend special. So if you're a racing fan, or even if you're just a sports fan, tune in, watch a couple races. You'll see the best in the world go head-to-head under the Southern California sun. Future Stars Friday, Championship Saturday. Del Mar's the stage. No picks, no touts, just appreciation for a sport that when it gets right, still delivers something beautiful. And we will have full reports from Friday, tomorrow night on the Ryder Report, plus a full preview of Saturday's busy day in horse racing. Here's what's trending in sports. 2 weeks before his scheduled exhibition fight with Jake Paul, WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Tank Davis is facing serious new legal trouble. A civil lawsuit filed in Miami-Dade County accuses Davis of battery, aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The suit was filed by ex-girlfriend Courtney Rozelle, who claims Davis attacked her early Monday night at Tootsie's, a Miami gentleman's club where she worked. According to the complaint obtained by ESPN, Rozelle says Davis dragged her through multiple areas of the club before physically assaulting her in a parking garage. She also alleges a pattern of domestic abuse and threats during the 5-month relationship, including 4 prior incidences where Davis allegedly choked or assaulted her, and at least 2 death threats. Rozelle's attorney says she is now suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and fear for her safety, and is seeking compensation and punitive damages along with a jury trial. The new case follows another domestic violence charge against Davis that was dropped 2 months ago. Davis also served 90 days of house arrest and 3 years probation for a 2023 hit-and-run case in Baltimore. ESPN reports that Davis's representatives in Jake Paul's most valuable promotions have not commented on whether the lawsuit will impact the planned November 14th bout in Miami Caisas Center. The NCAA announced today it will be requiring player availability reports for both the 2026 men's and women's basketball tournaments, making a major move to strengthen game integrity and protect student athleticism. Growing concerns over sports betting starting next March, teams must submit availability reports twice, once the night before each game and again 2 hours before tip-off. Those reports will be made public, listing players as either questionable or out. All others will be assumed available. The NCAA warned that inaccurate or misleading reports could result in penalties for schools. President Charlie Baker called the change a major step in increasing student athletic protections, saying the policy will help alleviate will alleviate pressure and reduce outside influence from the betting world. The NCAA has partnered with HD Intelligence, a data firm already working with several conferences to manage the new reporting system. Officials say they'll review the program's success after the 2026 tournaments and consider expanding it to other Division I championship events. With the Dodgers facing elimination, manager Dave Roberts says Shohei Ohtani could see an unconventional role if the World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays reaches a decisive Game 7. Ohtani, who threw 93 pitches in Wednesday's Game 4 loss, could be available out of the bullpen this weekend, or even as an opener or outfielder, according to Roberts. Using Ohtani as both a designated hitter and reliever would force the Dodgers to surrender their DH spot unless he also plays a defensive position once his pitching stint ends. Roberts says everything is on the table as the club looks to survive Game 6 and prepare for a potential winner-take-all matchup. Ohtani has never pitched in relief in Major League Baseball, though he made several relief appearances in Japan and famously closed out Japan's win over Team USA in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, striking out Mike Trout for the final out. This postseason, Ohtani is hitting .250 with 8 home runs and 14 RBIs while posting a 3.5 ERA and 25 strikeouts over 18 innings. Roberts says he'll meet with Ohtani to discuss all options before Game 6 in Toronto. That's what's trending in sports. Here's tonight's final thought. In a sport that once prided itself on continuity, college basketball now feels like a revolving door. Players come and go, often before fans learn their names. Coaches, once the bedrock of programs, now find themselves reshuffling rosters annually, chasing wins in a landscape reshaped by NIL deals and transfer portals. And yet, amid the chaos, a few familiar faces remain. Rick Pitino, Rick Barnes, Tom Izzo, Kelvin Simpson, Mark Few, Bill Self, names that have been synonymous with the game itself. They are the old guard, caretakers of a tradition that's rapidly slipping away. But even they're not immune to time. Pitino is 73, Barnes will be 72 next summer, Izzo, the longest tenured coach in Division I, turns 71 this season. Sampson is 70 and grooming his successor. Few and Self, both 63, are hardly spring chickens, and while they still win, and win big, the toll is evident. Self underwent another heart procedure this summer. Izzo openly wonders if the game is still worth it. He said, "I don't like where the game is gone. I really don't care if you rip me for it." That kind of candor is rare, but it's also telling. Jay Wright walked away. So did Tony Bennett. Bruce Pearl just did the same. And with them went decades of wisdom, thousands of wins, and a connection to a game that once valued mentorship over marketing. Names like Leonard Hamilton, Fran Duffney are all gone. Jim Boeheim. And together they accounted for Final Four runs, conference titles, and nearly 2,500 victories. Their exits weren't just retirements. They were quiet farewells to an era. So what happens when the last of the old guard steps aside? Will college basketball still feel like college basketball? Or will it become something else entirely? A transactional enterprise where loyalty is fleeting and legacy is a relic. Pitino says he missed coaching too much to stay retired. Izzo still holds a court in East Lansing. Sampson's Cougars are ranked second. Barnes, Self, and Few are all contenders. They're still here, still winning, still teaching. But make no mistake, they're not just coaching teams. They're holding the line. And when they're gone, we may finally realize what we've lost. That'll do it for me on this Thursday night. Till next time, Ryder Bullock reporting. Thank you for your time, and thank you for letting